Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name's Meredith Phillips and I have been querying my Regency romance for almost a year now. Not quite. We started mid-January, but you know, it's been basically a year. And I wanted to share with you some of the lessons I've learned along the way. And I wanted to share my envy-inducing stats. Actually, let's start with the stats because these are pretty quick and relatively unimpressive. So in total, I have queried 41 agents. I queried 1 small press. And so far I have received 23 form rejections. We love to see it. I did receive 1 half personalized question mark rejection. We're not sure about that one. It was a rejection though. 11 of the queries were closed to no response, which just means that it had been 120 days since I sent the query and nobody had responded. So query tracker just like auto closes it essentially. An agent can still see it, but you're kind of assuming that they're going to reject it or they don't want it if they haven't looked at it or given you an answer yet. I did get 1 full request. That was very exciting. And I do still have at this point, I believe, 5 outstanding queries that I sent at the end of September, question mark. Is that when I sent those? I think so. End of September. So those are going to be closed out here in the next month or so if nobody's replied, but we'll see. We'll see if anything comes from that. Now you might be surprised at that total number, 41 queries. That seems kind of low compared to people who have sent like 75, 100 queries. You know, you see videos all the time where people are like, I've sent 100 queries, let's talk about it. You know, I haven't sent that many. But for me, I'm querying a Regency romance, a historical romance. And if you go on Query Tracker, which I would highly recommend if you are a querying author, also sorry if you can hear the garbage truck, it's coming down our street right now. But if you go on Query Tracker and just look at who is accepting historical romance, there's 121 agents. That's it. A good chunk of those agents, I would say maybe like a third. It's a pretty good chunk of those. They are just like permanently closed. These are like big agents. They've been around forever. They've got a full client list. They're listed there as an agent, but they're not accepting queries at the moment. So there's a good chunk of those that are just like, they might as well not be in the number because they don't really count. Currently, of those 121, 69 of them, lols, are closed to queries, which only leaves 52. Of those 52 that are still open for queries, there's only 27 that I haven't sent anything to. Some of those are agents that work with an agency that I sent my query to a different agent in that agency, and the agency only lets you query one of their agents, and then they're just like, it's a no from all of us if one of us says no. So some of them I can't query because of that. That does still leave a handful of people who are open to historical romance who I have not queried. However, I have ruled them out for one reason or another. There's some that I'm just like, I just don't feel like a good vibe from you. Like there's one agent on there who requests the standard materials, query letter, sample pages, synopsis. She also requests that you send her a marketing plan. Ma'am, that is not my job. What are you talking about? A marketing plan? I don't even know what that would look like. So there's something like that where I was just like, listen, no. So while I do still have some queries out there, like we said, in all likelihood at this point, the book will probably be shelved, which is sad because I do really love my book. I love the story. I love the characters. I literally wrote the book I wanted to read. Okay. That's what I did. I love it. I think it's super sweet and super cute. But I do think I know at least 2 reasons why it maybe didn't go further in the query trenches. So let's look at those 2 things just right off the bat. So first of all, the first really fun fact is that historical romance is not exactly the genre du jour. There's a lot of publishers, big traditional publishers, who are like not renewing contracts with historical romance authors. They're dropping authors who had like a 3-book deal and they published 2 of the books and then they're like, nah, we don't really want to publish this last one. Those first 2, they did really great in sales, but we don't care. We're just not gonna publish the last one. What are you talking about? It's depressing, honestly. So sales numbers are just sort of down across the board. And then from a business perspective, like why would an agent want to take on a client who is producing work that not a lot of people are interested in purchasing right now? I did a whole video on that a week or two ago, 3 weeks ago. I'll link it below if you want a little more information, insight, opinions, thoughts, spiral on that whole subject. And secondly, the books that are selling, because there are still historical romances that are being sold, okay? It's not completely dead, but of the ones that are selling, those books have really hooky premises. The book is about something really cool and hooky. And in all honesty, I really don't believe that my book has that hooky premise that everybody wants. I love my book. However, it's not like X-Men meets Alice in Wonderland, you know? Like those kind of hooky premises that you hear all the time. Like that's what publishers are wanting. And I don't think mine has that. Now, none of this means I'm giving up. I'm still really proud to be at this point in my writing journey, in my writing career, in my whatever this ends up being. I've had a really good time sending out my materials and just like living in this stage. And I've definitely learned a lot over the past year. So let's go ahead and jump into the lessons learned over the past year. So first of all, if you're thinking about querying like in the coming year, or even if you're just sort of like vaguely interested in traditional publication and you don't really know if you want to do that or not, but you maybe potentially start learning about the querying process now. I don't think it's ever too early to start listening and learning about what this process involves, because it involves a lot and there are a ton of really common mistakes that you can make that are easily avoidable, but you gotta know that that's a mistake. So learn now, okay? I spent years, honestly, years just listening to agents, editors at publishing houses, published authors talk about this process, what they did that worked, what they did that didn't work, what they see all the time that is so annoying and they hate it. Like I've learned along the way. One of the most helpful things is listening to somebody critique a query letter. You can get this on places like the Shit No One Tells You About Writing, Shit No One Tells You About Publishing, whatever, that podcast, you know, I can never remember the name of it. I'm so stupid. Anyway, that one, they always have like a critique right at the beginning. Excellent insight there. Gina Denny is here on YouTube and on TikTok. I'll link both of those below. She does query critiques all the time. And if you start to watch those, watch dozens of them, hundreds of them, okay, over the course of a long time, you will see the same things pop up over and over and over again, where these agents or industry professionals of one kind or another are like, oh my gosh, you comped your book to Sarah J. Maas's A Court of Thorns and Roses. Like, don't do that. You're not Sarah J. Maas. So like, there's easy mistakes that they point out so often that are just easily avoidable. You can just not do them. Nicole Wilbur also did a video maybe a month ago now, a few weeks back, where she wrote like a fake query letter that is just riddled with all of these common mistakes. And then she goes through it and like picks out all of these like crazy things. It was a little painful listening to that letter, honestly, but I'll link that video below as well. She has a lot of great resources on her channel for querying. One other really quick thing to keep in mind, if you start watching videos from people like me, or you start looking at blog posts, articles, whatever online, you're gonna find that writers come away from the querying process with different experiences. And there's a ton of these like lessons learned kind of videos on YouTube and elsewhere on the internet. And you'll sometimes find conflicting advice or conflicting suggestions, because this isn't always like a one way to do it sort of situation. Some of the things that I'm going to talk about that were super helpful to me, there are literally people here on YouTube who say don't do that, like it didn't help them at all. Okay, like everybody's different, right? So don't just watch like one video. Don't just watch this one video and be like, oh, that's the way to do it. Because it isn't. This is just what I found to be useful, or the lessons I learned for myself. So as per usual here on my channel, I'm not trying to give any kind of prescriptive advice. This is just the lessons I've learned for me. So lesson number 1 is, like I just said, spend a significant amount of time learning, researching, listening to people talk about the querying process. how it works, what to include in your query letter, what not to include in your query letter, how a synopsis is supposed to be written. Formatting is super important. Like, you don't want somebody to reject it just because you didn't do the right formatting, you know? You usually, the vast majority of the time, you get one shot with an agent per project. If I query somebody and my query letter is an absolute disaster, too bad, so sad. I can't re-query them. So if you write a query letter in 20 minutes and you're dashing it off to a whole bunch of agents, like, that's maybe a little like, slow down, cowboy, okay? You don't need to move that fast. Take your time, polish it to as good a shine as you can possibly make it before sending it out. The agents are still gonna be there. They're not going anywhere. Well, some of them might, but if they do, then you didn't want that agent to begin with. Anyway, like, the agents are gonna be there. They're gonna be there. So take your time preparing the materials that you send to them. Number 2, this might not, like I said, these are the lessons I learned. So this one is one where this might not be the thing for you to think about all that often, but for me, it's helpful. Know the stats and be realistic. There are toxic positivity people out there who will tell you, like, believe in yourself and you can do it. And if you work hard enough, you can get anything you want. That's not true. That's not true. You see authors, writers all the time who are like, I've been querying for 10 years and I still haven't gotten anywhere. There are writers who get to a point where they're like, this isn't worth my time anymore. And they decide they're going to drop this and fill their creative well somewhere else. This is a business. The trad pub industry, the indie pub industry, whatever publication industry you want to get into, it's a business, and businesses are there to make money. If an agent doesn't believe they can sell your project to a publisher, they're not going to take you on as a client just to be nice. They're not going to make a full request just to like try to make you feel good about yourself. The pure numbers show that the majority of writers who query do not get an agent with the first project that they query. A lot of writers, you hear stories all the time where they're like, I queried 4 separate books before I finally landed an agent. And then after that, I went on sub with 3 different books before I finally landed a book deal, right? Like, these people have written a ton of books and polished a ton of books to the point where they were ready for this level of the process. And it took a long time, years and years and years of writing, working at their craft before hitting the right agent at the right time with the right project. Now, I knew that going into querying earlier this year. I knew that my chances of getting an agent with the very first book that I started to query were like fraction of a percentage kind of low, okay? So I absolutely did my best. And I had hopes, right? Like, I'm not gonna just go and like, oh, well, I'm obviously not gonna get an agent with this book. Like, I didn't go into it with that attitude. You can go back and watch the first Querying Chronicles video. I'm super excited, like the whole video, just to be here, right? But I still knew in all likelihood that book was going to end up getting shelved. It's not there yet. Like we said, I still have some queries out there. There's still some things going on. But it is close to the point where it's going to be like, all right, it's pretty dead in the water. Now, in my opinion, it is so much better to have that realistic picture at the outset, because if I didn't know that back in January, if I started querying thinking like, oh, well, like most writers query and get an agent, I would be crushed. I would be crushed at this point in the year, having gotten literally like pretty much nothing out of this, experience in terms of like forward momentum, right? I would have been questioning like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with my writing? What am I doing wrong? There's already so much self-doubt that goes into writing. Like, don't let unrealistic expectations make you doubt yourself even more. Lesson number 3 is get eyes on your query package. That includes your query letter, your synopsis, your first 10 pages. Just like when you're writing your book, there are mistakes in there. There are holes in that book that you will not see by yourself. You need to have somebody else look at it and be like, this didn't make sense. This was unclear. What happened to this character you introduced in chapter 3 and we never see them again? Have somebody look at your query package because they'll be able to tell you this doesn't make sense. This part is yikes, whatever. And then you can revise it and make it stronger. Now, ideally, this person should know and have a pretty good understanding of what a query letter should look like and the information that should be included, because there are very specific things that need to be in there, and if you just send it to some random person, they might not know. So I did this. I sent my query. Did I send the synopsis? I don't know if I sent the synopsis. I can't remember what I sent. But I definitely sent the query letter to my critique partners. They reviewed it, gave me a few suggestions. I implemented that. But then, again, if you've watched my videos earlier this year, you know I ended up sending all 3 of those items. I sent the query and synopsis to one person for review, a professional person in the industry, and I sent the first 10 pages to somebody different. I didn't do that like on purpose. I kind of was like doing it little pieces at a time just to, I don't even remember what my thinking was. I don't remember. But anyway, I ended up using 2 different people for this. You can purchase query critique packages where it includes all 3 of those. And let me tell you, that was some of the best money I've ever spent. If you go this route, look for people with experience who have a website with testimonials and some kind of training or experience within the industry. That might be another published author, that could be an editor of some kind, but like they need to have some kind of credentials. Don't just send it to some rando person who's like, I'm a writer, and they're on Fiverr. Like, you have no idea, okay? Find somebody legit. I'll link below to the people that I used. One of them only opens her services like occasionally. I think she might be closed right now, but I'll link her below in case you want to like bookmark it and check her out in some future time to come. I will say, you know, this does cost money if you decide to do this, but I paid less than $200 to get all of those things critiqued. And they were thorough critiques, let me tell you. They were very valuable to me. For me, $200 is not the kind of money that I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, I spend it without thinking. Like, I thought about it, okay? I needed to make sure that that's really what I wanted to spend the money on. For some people, that might be like negligible, you know, discretionary spending. Good for you. But yeah, that's not cash that I throw away easily. But of the critique services out there, this is so affordable compared to like a manuscript critique or a developmental edit. Those can be thousands of dollars. So this, getting a little bit of an evaluation of my work, was super valuable to me. And I mean, my query letter and the synopsis are immeasurably better because I had somebody else look at them and give me feedback. I'm gonna link below to 3 other videos from other creators that touch on this topic. There's one from Joss Likes Books, there's another from Chris, and there's another from Caitlin. They have some slightly different thoughts, some slightly different experiences with query critiques. I think if you watch all 4 of these videos, mine included, you're gonna get a really good picture of the fact that like everyone's experience is different. I think Joss and Caitlin both used a Reddit sub-forum, whatever, subreddits thing. They posted on Reddit and they had vastly different experiences. Me and Chris does not, she was like, I don't feel like a queer critique is worth it. And for her, it wasn't, because she freaking got an agent in like 6 weeks. So she's doing just fine without that. But for me, like, it was super useful. So again, like, watch and listen widely to what people are saying, because what helped me and what was useful to me might be completely worthless to somebody else. Okay, so on to lesson number 4. This was a complete surprise to me, and I do not know why other people don't seem to talk about it, or maybe I've just missed it. I don't feel like I have. This was a shock to me. Maybe I'm just dumb. I don't know. Tell me in the comments. But if you're using Query Tracker, which I would highly recommend, it is $25 a year to get the pro version with like all of the stats and all of the things. Highly recommend Query Tracker to query agents. But anyway, when you click on an agent and then you click on their like submit a query to them link or whatever, It takes you to a page, and each agent can customize what questions are asked on that submission page. I've submitted to some agents who they literally just want your query letter, your name, and your like first 10 pages. It's super bare bones. Other people have like every question on the planet, including one agent who asked what song would I pick if I did karaoke, which that was just kind of fun. But anyway, like it's a huge range of questions, but there are some that you see often, and I had no idea that this was going to be like a thing I needed to have prepared. So I'm going to tell you, and then you can prepare this ahead of time and not be like me who was shocked when I opened up the submission thing for the first time. So the first thing is a 1-sentence pitch. Nobody wants to write a 1-sentence pitch. These are horrible. You're going to spend hours looking at one sentence and rearranging the words. And then you're going to come back the next day and spend more hours on it. Oh my gosh, these are the worst. A 1-sentence pitch is reducing your book's premise to one sentence between typically like 25 and 35 words. Good luck. These are horrible. I would highly recommend, sort of like if you have other writer friends, write one to the best of your ability and then kind of bounce it off a couple different people and get their input. I find these so difficult. If you don't, you're like some kind of super person or something. I don't know, but these are really annoying. It's so hard to reduce your book to 30 words. Oh my gosh. But anyway, have that ready to go because there are a huge number of agents who want that 1-sentence pitch. The other thing is an author bio. There'll be a little box and it'll be like, give me your author bio or tell me a little bit about yourself. Something really vague like that. And you're just like, what do you want? I was born in Northern Virginia in 1986. Like, is that what you want? Or do you want like more writing credentials? Who knows? Gina Denny did a video on this several weeks back. I'll try to find it and link it below. But it's essentially a chance for you to take the author bio section of your query and expand it. Wish I had known that because your girl was over here just copy pasting that author bio from the query letter. Now, I don't think that hurt me necessarily, but it was almost like a little bit of a missed opportunity. I could have included a little more about like why I wrote the book or what the book means to me or something like that. Like you can kind of go into a little more of that emotional side of books. If you want, you can do a variety of things. Anyway, have that ready. Agents will also diabolically ask for more comp titles. More comp titles. You already spent freaking forever figuring out the like 2 comp titles you were going to use in your query letter. Now you got to find some more. So find more comp titles and then find, have some sort of little thing that says like why it's a comp title for your book. It's so annoying. And finally, everybody talks about the first 10 pages. The first 10 pages, get them critiqued. They better be super polished. If I can't see my face reflected in your first 10 pages, throw it in the garbage. Like, you want your first 10 pages to be good. That's what you hear about. However, agents will very often ask for more than just the first 10 pages. Who knew? There's a huge variety of number of pages, number of chapters that they will ask for as a sample. Of the agents that I was querying, I saw people requesting 5, 10, 20, 25, and 50 pages. I also saw agents requesting 1 or 3 chapters of your book. So that's fine. That's not as big a deal. You maybe want to like super duper polish like up to the first 50 pages, the first 3 chapters, whatever comes first. But take some time to compile those different lengths into different Word documents so that you're not having to like look at the whole big document and figure out, well, where's 50 pages fall? Like it's just easier to have it already compiled for yourself in a Word document. Just save it in a folder and then you can do a big old copy paste. Lesson 5 comes after you've submitted your first batch or your 7th batch of query letters. And the lesson is you need to be patient. More patient. Even more patienter than that. You need to have the patience to watch paint dry. Okay, this is a really long process. Like I said, I've spent all year querying and I got to 41 agents, which admittedly, that was maybe a little slow, but it does take weeks or months to hear back from agents if you hear back at all. Like, I forget what my stat was, 11, 20. What was the stat for close no response? I don't even remember. A lot. I think this is the first time for a lot of writers, I know it was for me, where you send off your materials to someone for evaluation and it's completely out of your control. You have absolutely no control over when or even if you hear back from that agent. If you're working with a critique partner or beta readers, you can oftentimes put in place like a little bit of a timetable. Hey, get this back to me in a week, or take a month to read the book and blah, 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 blah. You know, you kind of you have some control there. There's no control. You're sending it away and you just have to wait. This is very annoying, but you do have to learn just to sort of accept it and be okay with it. I will say one thing that can help if you're putting together a list of agents to send your materials to, I would look at the stats for the average time it takes agents to respond, because it's helpful to have a nice mix in the batches you send out. If you put together a list of people to send your query to, and all of them are the type of people who take like 70 days to get back to you, that's super annoying. It's so much better to include at least a couple people who have really short response times, because then at least you're getting some kind of response within a few days or a week after you've sent out your batch of queries, right? At least you know like it got to people, right? Like people are looking at it. So I would recommend trying to do some kind of mashup list like that. Okay, the next lesson, lesson 6, might be a little controversial. This is definitely one that works great for me, but it may be like absolutely horrific for you. So lesson 6 is turn on email notifications. Before I started querying, for years, I heard from multiple people to query this way. They said, create a brand new email account, and when you send out queries, use that email account to send the queries. And then, because it's separate from everything else in your life, you only have to look at that email account when you're ready to see potential rejections from agents, right? Now, this is great advice if you're someone who struggles with keeping like a positive mental health kind of situation going on. If you know that seeing a rejection randomly in the middle of your day is gonna like wreck your day, then having the like separate email might be really good for you. I would absolutely lose my mind and I would be in that email box every 30 seconds, refresh. Like I would not be able to handle it. I would go insane. So instead, I queried using my standard regular Gmail email account. I downloaded the Gmail app to my phone and I turned on notifications. So every time I get an email from Query Tracker, from agents, from friends, from YouTube comment notifications, whatever it is, I see it immediately because I also have my phone on me at all times. This has allowed me to put the queries out of mind, because I know as soon as there is something to know, my phone is gonna tell me about it. So I don't have to sit at work wondering, oh, is there an email in my inbox? I don't need to worry. My phone is right there on the desk with me. It's gonna tell me if I need to check something. So that has been great for me. I do get rejections in the middle of the day sometimes, but I don't know. I kind of am just like, yeah, you're gonna get rejections. What did you expect? So that hasn't bothered me. I haven't ever gotten one and it's like ruined my day. Now that's just me. I'm not saying that that's everybody, but it doesn't really, I just sort of move it to the folder out of the inbox and I'm like, all right, and I go about my day. Highly recommend if you're gonna be the person that is in the inbox, refresh, blah, 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 blah. Don't do that to yourself. What a stressful experience to live through. Put it on your phone, turn on the notifications. You can turn off notifications if you do get to a point where you're like, I need a day or two or a week to just like not think about this, even if there is something there. Turn off the notifications for however long you want and then turn them back on when you're ready to have that. So yeah, that was super helpful for me. Do what works for you. Okay, two more lessons. Lesson number 7 is as soon as you have sent out that very first batch of queries for your project, that project is done. We're not going back and piddling with it. If you're going back to that project and still wanting to fiddle with the wording, it's maybe not ready to be queried yet. Okay? Once you start querying it, just let it go. You gotta let it go and then start something new. Don't just sit around twiddling your thumbs. Start something new. What other ideas have been simmering up here? Like, get them down on paper, start brainstorming, outlining, drafting, whatever your process is. Start a new project. Put your focus and your energy into that. I would not recommend, she said, having done this exact thing herself on multiple occasions, I wouldn't recommend doing like book 2 or like the sequel, because if book 1 doesn't go anywhere in the query trenches, then you've spent weeks or months or the whole year working on book 2, and that's not going to do you any favors. So start something completely new, get excited about those new characters, about the new story, and start developing that. The final lesson, lesson 8, is be proud of yourself. There are a ton of people, you can look up the stats online, there's a ton of people who say, I want to write a book one day. Most of those people never finish that book if they even ever start that book. Even less writers or even fewer writers, I don't know. I'm a writer, but I don't know which one it is. My mom will tell us in the comments though. There's even fewer writers, I think it's fewer. Stop it! Okay, there's even fewer writers who get to the point where they're actually ready to query the book. They've written it, they've revised it, they've worked on editing and polishing it, and it's at a point where they're like, I don't know what else to do with this thing. It's as good as I can possibly make it. I'm gonna throw it out into the ether and see what happens. So take some time to pat yourself on the back and be proud of yourself. I am not usually the type of person to like congratulate myself on milestones in life. I'm usually like very much focused on the end goal, right? What is the end goal? I'll celebrate when I get there, but I'm not celebrating just because I finished a draft. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm just saying like me, I'm just like, okay, well, yeah, but now I got to revise it. So this is coming from the person who didn't even go to their high school or college graduation ceremonies because I did not care. I didn't care that I graduated. My goal was the dream job at the end of that, which I did get. It's not my current job because the dreams changed. But anyway, I'm just saying, I'm not the type of person to usually like pause and celebrate myself. Like, I don't care about that usually. I know I did a good job in high school and college. You don't need to tell me. Let me get on my way. I don't want to be here anymore. But even so, there have been moments throughout this year where I've kind of sat back and been like, dang, good job. You're doing so good. We're doing the thing, you know? I'm doing the thing. So if you get to this point, you're doing the thing. You're doing great. Take a second to recognize yourself for all of that hard work and then get back to work because you're not done yet. So that's what I've learned thus far in my querying journey. If you're a querying writer and you've had different experiences along the way, absolutely let us know in the comments. Like I said, this is people's experiences vary widely. So don't take anything I said as like gospel truth or something. That's not it. But yeah, let us know if you have different thoughts on things that have happened with you. Or if you have other questions about the querying process, if you're maybe thinking to start this in the next year or so, drop your comments or drop your questions in the comments below. And if there's enough questions, I might do a separate video on those. I don't know. Let me know if you have questions though. For now though, if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, you can click the subscribe button. I usually post videos on Fridays. This one was just like a random one, so you're welcome. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye. Ooh, one more thing I forgot. A bonus tip for you. If you're looking for query, info, details, whatever, make sure you're looking at stuff that has been published within the last like year or two. The publishing industry changes fast. If you look at stuff from 4, 5, 6 years ago, that information might not be valid or as relevant anymore. So I would definitely encourage you to look at current stuff. Okay, now I'm really done. Bye.